Bitter truth at a beautiful table. My name is Lana, and 8 years ago, I married believing that love meant safety, loyalty, and a home where your heart could rest without fear. I was 32 the first time I entered my husband's childhood home, still naive enough to believe I was walking into a family that would become mine. I did not yet understand that in their house, I was tolerated, not welcomed. Now I am 38, a senior strategist at a respected PR firm. Confident, grounded, someone who can speak to CEOs and politicians without hesitation. But once a month, by his family's sacred tradition, everything I had built outside disappeared the moment I stepped through their door. I became again the silent, accommodating wife, the one who cooked, smiled, never contradicted, never asked. Those dinners were not celebrations. They were quiet tests I was never meant to pass. My husband, John, once defended me. He used to stand taller when someone pushed too far, speak up when my feelings were dismissed. But over the years, that fire faded. He became careful, trying to please everyone at once, and in the process, pleasing no one. Our conversations dissolved into routine questions about takeout and schedules. We lived like neighbors, sharing space but not intimacy. His family treated this dynamic like tradition. His mother, Amelia, specialized in elegant insults. Remarks so polished they could almost pass as compliments. His younger sister, Rena, seemed to compete with me for a prize I never agreed to chase. I tolerated all of it, believing that love meant enduring. But every dinner carved a new quiet wound. On the last of these evenings, I spent my entire day preparing. Citrus-marinated trout roasted to tenderness, grilled vegetables, and a 3-layer chocolate cake that stole 3 hours from my life. The table looked like something from a magazine. Candles, flowers, warm lighting. It should have felt like home. Then she walked in. Rena brought a new friend, Mira. 26, tall, dressed like she had stepped out of a Milan runway. Her perfume arrived seconds before she did, cool and commanding. She was stunning, intentionally so. But it wasn't her beauty that unsettled me. It was the way she looked at John. A slow, measured gaze that lingered far longer than politeness allowed. She touched his arm, accidentally, laughed too loudly at everything he said, inserted herself at his side as if she belonged there more than I ever had. Amelia watched her with an expression I had never received, approval. Conversation drifted toward work, and I attempted to join. I recently wrapped a major campaign, I began. Almost a year of, how adorable, Mira cut in, her tone dripping with sugar and poison. Small victories must feel so special. Laughter, then silence. Not one person defended me, not even John. He stared at his plate as if my words were too heavy for him. I felt myself shrinking, so I excused myself to the kitchen, pretending to check the dessert, but really just trying to breathe. My hands trembled against the countertop. Footsteps entered behind me. It was Mira. She dropped her sweetness like a costume. "You were lucky to get him back then," she whispered, leaning close enough for her perfume to sting. Now, he'd choose someone better. She fixed her lipstick in the reflection of my kitchen window, in my home, then walked out as if she owned the space. Something inside me cracked, and then hardened. When I returned to the dining room, I served dessert. Mira took one delicate bite, then theatrically pushed the plate away. "Too heavy," she said. "I prefer the French bakery downtown. Maybe learn from them, Lana. It might help." Rena laughed. Amelia added, "Well, baking is not for everyone, dear." John finally spoke, weakly. "That's enough, Mira. Too little, too late." I stood, holding my wineglass. And everyone fell quiet, expecting a toast. "Thank you all for coming," I began, voice calm. "Especially you, Mira. It's rare for a guest to reveal their true nature so quickly." Her eyes narrowed. She didn't know I had looked into her before she stepped into my home. "Tell me," I continued, "do they know you were fired for having an affair with your married director? After his wife filed a complaint? Is that why you left town so suddenly?" Her face went white. "That's a lie," she snarled, but her voice trembled. I pulled out my phone. Screenshots, messages, public threads. 3 confirmations. I could have named the director's wife. I almost did. Silence weighed on the table. Even the candles seemed motionless. Rena stared at her lap. Emilia froze, looked at me as if he was seeing me for the first time. Mira trembled, grabbed her purse and stormed out. Rena followed. The door slammed. Silence stayed. Emilia tried to speak. But I raised a hand. Learn to respect this home. And your son. If you can't, these dinners end. She left without another word. John and I were alone. I'm sorry, he whispered. For what? I asked softly. For being silent. For letting them hurt you in your own home. For standing next to you, but never behind you. It was the realest thing he had said in years. I cried, not from pain, but because I finally felt heard. I don't need a savior, I said. Just someone who stands with me. Not with them. I promise, he answered. No more silence. We cleaned the table together. No words, just warmth. And for the first time in a long time, silence didn't hurt. Over the next weeks, Rena called to apologize, genuinely. She admitted she brought Mira to test me, foolishly. Shame sat heavy in her voice. Emilia, though not suddenly affectionate, treated me with new boundaries, even respect. Forced or real, I didn't care. It was enough. John and I began therapy. We learned to speak, to hear, to grow. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Some weeks later, an anonymous letter arrived. Inside was a photo of Mira with another van and a message. She's not done. That night, a text arrived from an unknown number. You took something from me. Now I'll take something from you. For days, I waited for disaster, a scandal, a stranger outside, a whisper at my office. But nothing came. The threat that felt enormous dissolved into nothing. Silence, and that silence, at first terrifying, soon became harmless. I realized Mira could take nothing from me unless I let her take my peace. Her chaos belonged to her, not to me. Spring arrived, warm air slipped through the curtains. I lit candles again, not for display, but for comfort. We set the table, not to impress, but to enjoy. No guests, no judgment, just us. John looked around and smiled. It feels different, he said. It is, I replied. Because we are. We talked about dreams, real ones. We laughed. We shared the same 3-layer cake. Imperfect, beautiful, ours. It tasted sweeter, not because the recipe changed, but because I had. I once believed that a beautiful table needed perfect dishes, perfect behavior, perfect people. But now I know. A beautiful table needs only honesty, warmth, and those who choose to sit beside you in love. Everything else is noise. And so, our story didn't end in fire or chaos. It ended quietly. With 2 hands meeting across a table, a promise renewed, a home reclaimed. I learned that the greatest revenge is not destruction, but self-respect. Not shouting, but choose in peace. No one else gets to write the final chapter of my life. I do, and I did.